There's something you felt but maybe never put into words. The strange way someone's eyes can hold you longer than their body ever could. The way a voice can haunt your memory more than a photograph. How a person's presence can stir you even if they never touched you. And how sometimes the people who stay in your heart the longest are the ones who never gave you certainty, only mystery. You've probably been told that beauty is power. That attraction is about a face, a figure, a filtered smile. But deep down, you've seen the truth. The people who got under your skin, who lit something in you, or shattered you, it wasn't because of how they looked. It was the way they made you feel exposed without asking a question. The way they seemed to carry hidden rooms inside them. Rooms you wanted to enter but could never fully see. There's a kind of pull that has nothing to do with appearances. It's quiet, intimate. It slips beneath your guard. And when you try to explain it, you find yourself saying things like, "I don't know what it is about them," or "They're not even my type." But you're still thinking about them, long after they're gone. That's emotional mystery. And it's more powerful, more enduring than any kind of physical beauty. In this video, we're going to go deep into why some people captivate us with nothing more than their silence, their stare, the feeling that they've seen something dark and familiar in you. We'll explore why emotional depth leaves a mark that the body never could, and how mystery, real mystery, isn't about pretending to be hard to read. It's about being so real, so layered, that people sense they haven't even scratched your surface. So if you've ever asked yourself, "Why can't I let them go?" Or, "Why am I still drawn to someone who didn't even give me much?" This is for you. Take a breath. Get comfortable. This isn't a lecture. It's a conversation you've been waiting for. And if you find a piece of yourself here in these quiet truths and hidden longings, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment to let others know they're not alone. You don't have to be loud to be unforgettable. Sometimes, the soul whispers louder than the body ever could. They never said much, did they? But somehow, you felt seen in their silence. As if their stillness wasn't empty, it was full of something you couldn't quite touch. A wound maybe, or a past, or a truth they weren't ready to give you, but couldn't hide either. And you leaned in. Because mystery doesn't shout, it pulls. Gently, powerfully, like gravity. You didn't fall for their face. You fell for the way their eyes seemed to hold back 1,000 stories. The way they'd go quiet in a room full of noise. How they could disappear in plain sight and still own your attention. That's not beauty. That's depth. And depth is dangerous because it doesn't give you fast answers. It makes you curious. It makes you ache. It makes you want to uncover something. Not possess it, but understand it. This kind of attraction doesn't always feel safe. It doesn't stroke your ego. It unsettles something deeper. It calls out your own hidden places, the ones you've learned to bury under smiles and certainty. It reflects back your own questions. Who am I really? What do I hide? What would someone see in me if they truly looked? There's a reason you can be surrounded by physically perfect people and still feel bored. Because the body doesn't lie, but it doesn't reveal the soul either. You're not starving for beauty. You're starving for resonance. And that resonance comes from someone who's lived. Someone who's been cracked open by life and didn't plaster over the wounds with glitter and surface-level charm. Someone who lets the scar show, just enough for you to feel less alone in yours. You're not attracted to pain. That's not what this is. You're attracted to truth, realness, something unspoken but unmistakable. You're drawn to people who carry both light and shadow, who feel like they've been through it and somehow are still standing, not polished, not perfect, but real, in a way that shakes you. Carl Jung said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But the moment you meet someone who has faced theirs and lived to tell the truth without telling it out loud, you feel it. It's not about revealing all your secrets. It's about being brave enough to hold them with peace. That's what mystery is, and that's why it's so rare, so magnetic, so lasting. You don't forget someone who carries the storm in silence. You don't walk away untouched by someone who holds space for both pain and peace. You might not know what it is. You might not have words for it, but you feel it in your gut, and you remember them long after the beautiful ones fade from your mind. Maybe that's why you still think about them. There was a moment, maybe you didn't even realize it at the time, where everything around you went still. Just for a second. The noise dropped. The distractions faded. and all you could feel was them. Not their hand, not their voice, but their energy, like they were holding a mirror to something you hadn't let yourself feel in years. It wasn't chemistry, it wasn't charm, it was recognition. You saw something in them that made you want to slow down. You didn't even know what you were reaching for, you just knew you were reaching, and that scared you. Because most of your life, you've been the one who listens, who holds space, who understands. And now suddenly someone's presence was doing that to you without even trying. That's the thing about emotionally mysterious people. They don't give you the illusion of safety through predictability. They give you the feeling of safety through depth. And that's terrifying if you've spent your life being guarded. It's even more terrifying if you've spent your life performing, smiling when you're sad, being agreeable so no one leaves, keeping your past neat and presentable, like a room you never really live in. So when someone comes along who doesn't flinch at your silence, who doesn't need you to impress them, who maybe doesn't even give you much in return, it does something to you. It strips away your mask. You don't chase that kind of connection because it's fun. You chase it because it feels like home, but one you've never been to before. One where you don't have to earn love by being easy to love. And maybe that's why emotional mystery hurts just as much as it heals. Because these people, the ones who carry soul, they aren't always available. They don't always stay. Sometimes, they're still walking through their own shadows. Sometimes, they're just passing through. And sometimes, they awaken something in you, and then leave you to figure out what to do with it. But here's the truth. They didn't give you that feeling. They uncovered it. They didn't place something inside you. They just reached a part of you that had always been there, quietly waiting for someone real, someone layered, someone who wouldn't flinch at your darkness or dim your light. So maybe it's not about getting them back. Maybe it's about understanding what they reminded you of, what they woke up inside of you. The depth, the ache, the longing for truth, the need to be seen in ways words can't express. That's not about them. That's about you. And it always was. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can barely touch your life, yet leave fingerprints on your soul. They weren't your partner. They weren't your forever. Maybe they weren't even consistent, but their presence cracked something open. And now, you can't unfeel it. You keep replaying the smallest moments. The glance that lingered. The silence that felt louder than a conversation. The almost confession that hung between you both. Never spoken but fully understood. You remember how they looked at you. Not with hunger, not with charm, but with knowing. As if they could sense the weight you carry, the war behind your smile. And for once, you didn't feel the need to explain yourself. You felt met, without effort, without masks. And then, they were gone. Not in some dramatic exit, not in a flame of betrayal, just gone. Like fog lifting, like a dream that didn't end, it just faded. You didn't lose them. You lost the possibility of them. The version of you that you only seemed to touch in their presence. The version that wasn't performing, that didn't need to be impressive. The you that just was and was still enough. And maybe that's what hurts most. Because when someone gives you a glimpse of your deeper self, when they stir the part of you that wants more than surface, more than safety, and then disappear, it doesn't just feel like heartbreak. It feels like exile. Like you've been sent back to the shallows after tasting the deep. But here's what you don't realize yet. That mystery you felt in them, that magnetic pull, that haunting resonance, it's inside you, too. The reason you could feel it is because something in you already speaks that language. You don't fall into that kind of connection by accident. Your soul recognized it. Not because it was foreign, but because it was familiar. It's a reflection, a mirror of your own unspoken truths, your own emotional depth, your own capacity to hold pain without breaking, to love without needing to own, to feel beyond what the world teaches is normal. That kind of connection doesn't show up to complete you. It shows up to wake you, to show you what's possible when people stop performing, when presence replaces charm, when the inner world finally speaks louder than appearance. You were never drawn to how they looked. You were drawn to how they felt and how you felt around them. And that was never surface. You used to think that if someone left, it meant they didn't care. But now, something inside you knows better. Sometimes, the deepest connections are the ones that can't stay. Not because they weren't real, But because they were too real, too raw to survive in a world that keeps things light and fast and forgettable, they were a reminder, a doorway, a glimpse into a different way of relating, one where people don't need to entertain each other to feel alive, one where you don't chase constant attention to feel worthy, one where stillness isn't awkward and depth isn't dangerous. And now that you've felt it, nothing else really satisfies. Not the swipes, not the easy flirtation, not the ones who come with all the right lines but none of the silence. You're not looking for attention anymore. You're looking for understanding. And that's rare. That's why you're still haunted. Because they didn't perform for you. They didn't decorate their pain or sell you a version of themselves. They just were. And being around that kind of honesty, even briefly, makes everything else feel thin. You wonder if they think of you too. If they saw something in you that they couldn't explain. If you stirred something in them that they weren't ready to face. If maybe, just maybe, the pull you felt was mutual and too much for them to hold. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. Not in the way you think it does. Because what matters most isn't whether they miss you. What matters is what they mirrored back to you. That you crave depth, not decoration. That you long to be met, not managed. That you carry your own emotional mystery, whether you see it or not. And that somewhere along the way, you stopped settling for surface love because you realized something deeper lives inside you. You don't want someone who wants your body but not your silence. Your smile but not your shadow. You want someone who listens with their soul. Who doesn't need to fix you to feel close. Who can sit in the unknown with you and not run. That kind of presence isn't taught. It's lived. And if you've had even a taste of it, you know how rare it is. You also know you can't go back to less. So maybe the real reason they left wasn't to hurt you, but to hand you something, to return you to yourself, to remind you of what your soul actually needs. And now, you can stop chasing the surface. Now, you can wait for real. There's a quiet kind of strength in the people who don't rush to be understood, who don't decorate themselves for approval, who can sit in a room and say nothing, and still be the most captivating presence there, because you feel them. Before they even speak, you feel them. And not everyone does. That's the difference between appearance and presence. Appearance turns heads, presence turns hearts. It's not loud. It doesn't chase attention. It invites you softly, powerfully to notice what isn't being said. Maybe you've always tried to be likable, approachable, easy to understand, but deep down, you've never been simple. You've always had layers, emotions you couldn't explain, longings you couldn't name. A part of you that craved not just connection, but recognition. You weren't looking for someone to fix you. You were looking for someone to see you. And then they came along, and you felt like you could finally stop pretending. You didn't have to explain why crowds exhaust you, why small talk makes your soul ache, why you retreat not because you're cold, but because you feel everything, all the time. You didn't have to shrink, or soften your edge, or fake confidence. You were allowed to just be. That's what mystery feels like. It's not a performance. It's not a strategy. It's honesty. The kind that doesn't need to be loud or logical. The kind that says, here I am. I won't force you to understand me, but if you do, you'll never forget me. That's what you felt. And maybe you're still waiting for someone to look at you that way again. To sense the storms you've walked through without asking for the full story. To hear the pain between your sentences. To touch your soul without needing your body first. But what if that person you're waiting for is you? What if the most lasting mystery you've ever encountered, the one you're still trying to uncover, is your own? Because that's the final truth. The reason emotional mystery draws us in, leaves us undone, and lingers forever. It awakens the hidden world inside us, the one we've ignored, hidden, distrusted, until someone came along and reminded us, you are not shallow, you are not too much, you are not wrong for wanting more. You are not here to be simple, you are here to be true. Maybe that's why they showed up when they did. Not to stay, not to rescue, but to return you to yourself. They stirred something you'd buried beneath years of being likable, polite, manageable, something raw, something real. A part of you that knows love isn't about constant closeness, it's about resonance. It's about someone brushing against your soul and leaving it forever altered. You don't forget that. You don't move on from that like it was just another chapter. No, it becomes a turning point. You start to notice how many conversations feel empty, how many relationships are built on comfort, not connection, how many people want your time but not your truth. And you can't pretend anymore. You start pulling away from what's easy. You stop chasing the ones who offer everything but presence. You begin to crave something fewer people can give, not beauty, not promises, but depth, stillness. Someone whose soul doesn't try to impress you, but simply meets you. You're not cold now, you're just clear. Because once you've felt what it's like to be fully seen, not through words, not through effort, but through energy, you stop begging to be noticed. And maybe that's the gift, the real one. Maybe it wasn't about keeping them. Maybe it was about keeping you. The one who doesn't dilute her soul for attention. The one who doesn't mistake attraction for safety. The one who doesn't abandon herself just to be chosen. You're not hard to love. You're just not for people who haven't met their own soul yet. And emotional mystery. It isn't something you chase. It's something you carry. Quietly, confidently, like a song only a few can hear. So if someone meets you there in that silent, sacred space, you'll know. You won't have to try. You won't have to ask for more. They'll feel you, the way you once felt them. And if they don't, let them go. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do about yourself, your depth, your peace. The mystery you crave was never outside of you. It's always been yours. Thank you for listening. If something in these words stayed with you, if it felt like I was speaking from a place you've been trying to find, leave a comment. Share this with someone who understands silence. And subscribe to this channel, because here, we don't perform, we feel.